What up, guys? Welcome back, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna go over my PSA submission I sent in January. Again, it's been like 3 months, been so long. I know PSA grading times are insane right now. Gem rate was around 30%. One of the tens I did sell to PSA directly, so I won't have it here. But again, not ideal, but we're learning here, and we're gonna learn together. So today we're gonna go over the cards. We're gonna kind of think about why I got a 9 or an 8 compared to the tens that I got. And then in our next submission, we're gonna try and improve that gem rate. If we can hopefully improve it by 10, 20, 30%, that will be ideal. I know a lot of people in the hobby right now have been getting hit with harder and harsher grading. So I don't think I'm the only one. But the goal is to kind of see how their grading has shifted and how we can maximize our gem rates in the future. If you guys like this sort of content, feel free to like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram and YouTube, as well as TikTok. And yeah, we'll be doing Pokemon investing, business, and grading content for the foreseeable future. Maybe we'll do some pack rips and live streams as well. All right, let's dive into it. So I separated out my cards here. As you can see, you have the 8s over here on the left, we have the 9s in the center, and then we have the 10s on the right. I'm going to start with the 10s to go over them. And then I do have a flash right here to try and give you guys the best look at the whitening. Again, I am using my phone camera, so keep that in mind that it's not the best for doing this. I'm fairly new starting out, so give me some grace there. But here we can see the Rayquaza here. Again, the centering here looks pretty good. Again, I think it could be close to borderline. But I love this Rayquaza card. I think the rainbows are undervalued, but I know, the hobby and the market don't agree. I think this has been driving up a little bit due to the Rayquaza set coming out. That's going to probably go insane like every other set. But you can see here, like the centering is pretty good. I think it's definitely like a little bit left heavy, but within guidelines. And we'll have a couple nines that are also look pretty close like this, that got nines. So it depends on your grader's mood and what they see on the card during that day. But here you can see, trying to get you guys the lighting here. You can see no whitening at all. The corners are crisp, clean. I really love cards like this because they're so crisp and clean and so nice. And when they get the 10, it always feels really good. Um, but this one here, I did think was going to get a 10. I wasn't surprised it got a 10. Moving on to the Mew. So I do have another one of these Mews we'll look at right after this. But again, you can see the centering on this one I think is even better than the Rayquaza. As I shine the light here, you can kind of see very good centering. The texture is really good on the card. Again, make sure you guys check your surfaces. Surfaces do get dinged pretty hard with PSA, so just make sure you're keeping an eye on that. And then make sure you're checking your corners, and then, send it in, shoot your shot. Again, you can see here on this card, corners are pretty clear. Very minimal to no whitening on any of these corners. Again, was not surprised that this one got a 10. But what's going on in the market for you guys? I know I have been taking a look at potentially picking up some prismatic SBCs coming out soon from Sam's Club. I'm obviously probably not going to go to the drop, but looking forward to maybe pick them up locally a little cheaper than the 280, 290, maybe in the 250, 260 range. But what are you guys picking up? Let me know in the comments. So we can take a look at this one here. This one I think is definitely centering. Again, the Charizard V Alt Art, one of my favorite cards from Sword and Shield. I didn't get to open Sword and Shield because I wasn't in the hobby very much then. But you can see here it's definitely top heavy. It's when I measured it was within guidelines, but looking at it now, it definitely was a kind of shoot your shot sort of card. But on the back, I mean the back is clean. There's no whitening on any of these corners. These have very high gem rates, so I figured I'd shoot your shot. This is only my third submission, so keep that in mind. I'm still kind of learning where where the edges are, where the fine lines are, but I think this one definitely deserved the 9. Definitely don't think it should have gotten a 10. Here's the other Mew that I sent in. So this one I thought was actually, I was pretty confident it would get a 10. But I think it got docked for centering. So if you see here, the left side's definitely a little heavy. I think it's within guidance, but who am I? I'm just your average Joe Schmo on YouTube, right? And the bottom maybe is a little bit thin. I mean, these ones are a bit harder because they don't have the top to measure against. So you kind of got to eyeball it. I'm sure there's someone out there that has a better way to do that than me, but that's how I've figured for this one so far. But I think this is a centering issue again. The previous Mew I had definitely had better centering, but you can see here again the whitening on this card is like non-existent. So you can see each corner very clean. Make sure you guys check your corners. I know I'm sending in a Vectini coming up soon that has like the smallest white speck in the corner. Probably is going to get a 9. But sometimes, you got to learn where the edges are, where the friction is, where graders kind of change. And then you can start to maximize and optimize your submissions as you learn a bit more. So here's the Groudon. I love this card. I never bought one in a 10. I was going to when they were 350, but I set one in instead, and I got the 9 instead of the 10. But you can see here again, centering is not perfect. I think the top is a little heavy, but the centering is definitely better than the previous one that I showed on the Charizard B alt art. But if you look here, like centering's not bad. I think it's within guidelines. The surface is very clean. So with illustrations rares, you really got to check the surface because sometimes they'll have scratches. I think this one had some whitening. You can see it's kind of I don't know if you guys can see that. There's like a squared off edge in this card on the top right. So there's like a little bit of whitening on that corner. I thought maybe I could sneak through. And then on the bottom looks pretty clean. So hard to see, guys. I'm sorry. Then there's some whitening. So this one I think got dinged for whitening. Again, I think if you're gonna send a card in with whitening, it has to have maybe like one of the smallest specks imaginable. If you're gonna pass it through, that's what I've learned from the submission. So here's another card, the Charmander promo. Again, this is shot up in value. So again, I didn't lose any money on this submission. I actually made money, which is pretty insane. So if you choose your cards wisely, you're never punished. But taking a look at this one, this Charmander promo, again, pretty good centering. I think maybe slightly top heavy, like maybe a slightly fraction, but definitely all this is within guidelines. And you can see the actual illustration is very clear. No scratches or print lines on that. I think this one got dinged for whitening again. So if we look here on this top right corner, I think there's a little bit, if you can see that speck there. And then looks like the left corner, maybe a tiny smidge. You can't really see. Again, the whitening on this one is very, very hard to see. And I think the biggest one is right there on the left corner. So I don't know if you guys can see that there. But I think that's what got this one, is this left corner whitening. You can see it and get a little closer maybe. Oh, see, you can't zoom in that close. But I think this one got me for whitening. Now let's look at the 8s. I feel like the 8s are way more interesting than the 9s because 9s are still pretty good in my opinion. I know most people only want the 10, but 9s are essentially mint cards. But the 8s here are super interesting. I think generally the 8s are like a combination of centering and whitening is what I'm starting to figure out. But this one here looks to be within guidelines. So you can kind of see the top maybe a little heavy here. But the sides are looking pretty good. Again, maybe a little left, but definitely all within guidance. And even the illustration does not look like there's any scratch on here. I was actually surprised this got an 8. I figured it would get at least a 9. But here we go for the back. And then we can start to see maybe a little speck of whitening on this top corner here. Another little speck right here on this one. And then a couple specs here. I don't think this is an 8 personally. I think this is at least a 9. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys see anything on this card? Like, I do not see. I just see some whitening on the corners. Maybe there was some sort of surface scratch here that got at the 8. Or maybe I just got too many 9s, so they just did like a percentage breakdown. Sometimes I feel like it feels like that. I think this should have been a 9, but that's just me. What do you guys think in the comments? Let's take a look at this Eevee now. So this Eevee, you can see here, little bit right heavy, a little bit top heavy, but again, not too far, possibly within guidelines. You can see that. The illustration itself, no scratches or anything like that on it. So it looks okay to me. Now, of course, I did send in some whitening. As you'll see, is a common theme with this submission is that I'm sending too much whitening to actually get past or a 9 or a 10. I figured that this whitening would get a 9 at least, but I guess if you have 3 corners of whitening, it's no longer considered mint, possibly. I don't know. We'll see on the next submission that I send, because the next submission, was there a print line there, maybe? No, I didn't see any print line. Oh, I lost my camera. There we go. No print line or anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe it's that if you have 3 spots on it, it downgrades to an 8. I'm not sure. Here's my last one, guys. The Adino from Black Bolt. Again, you can see here the centering is not perfect, a little top heavy, but you know, definitely close to within guidelines, I would say. Maybe a little bit off on the top, but I think within guidelines. And then taking a look at the back here, you have the classic theme of this submission, whitening. So all in all, guys, obviously I'm not happy with the gem rate, but I do think that I learned a lot from this submission. I think my key takeaways from this submission, if you guys are looking to send in some of your cards, number one, centering is important. And if it's on the edge, I think you should index more that it's not going to pass the criteria compared to it will. So if you're getting 55-45, maybe even like, you know, 54-46, again, I would err on the side of caution of sending those because they're probably likely to get a 9. The other thing I think I've learned is if there are multiple whitening spots on the corners, and again, maybe this is a novice mistake, I figured those would still be a high likelihood of a 9. But I think if there's too much, if there's 3 corners or 4 corners with whitening, I think that does knock it down to an 8, even if the centering is within guidelines. So when you guys are looking at your cards, I would say if you're sending in a card that you're okay with a 9 as kind of your low tier, no more than 2 whitenings maybe. But if you're looking for that 10, I think you have to go with just, if there's any whitening, it has to be the smallest white speck imaginable. I will test this theory out in my next submission because I do have a couple cards going in that have the smallest speck imaginable, but everything else is clean in the centering. And I want to see if I get a 10, and I'll let you know once I get those back in for God knows how long, 6 months. And then number 3, one of the ones I live by and I continue to send it by, pick cards that, you know, obviously have a high multiple of value, as well as cards that are lower risk. So like some of these cards, like the Charmander promo, the Groudon, those were all cards that I thought were undervalued already. So even though I graded them and they got lower grades, the cards has risen in value due to the long lead times. So I still made money on my submission entirely. So that's kind of more of a factor of the booming market. I think if we ever move into a bear market, we may need to be a bit more cautious there. And I'll let you guys know how I'm, tackling that when it comes. So that's all I have today, guys. Appreciate you all being here. Feel free to like and subscribe if you like this content. I know it's fairly rugged setup right now. I'll continue to improve it over time. I'm just starting out, so give me some grace there. And our next video is going to be on a comparison of ETBs to PC ETBs. And I'm going to showcase some actual data on an Excel sheet on the gains and the sell-through rate and what I think they're going to do over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because I know I've been getting that question asked a lot. So that will be the next video on Thursday, and I'll see you guys there. All right, I'm out.